This here is Austria, the country I grew up and live in, and as you can see, on the scale of the world's countries, it's a fairly small country. Now, let's take a closer look. This is Tirol, one of Austria's 9 provinces, or states. We call it Bundesländer, and it's not only home to the city I live in now, Innsbruck, but also of the small country Austria, the smallest city, which I only just recently found out about, and turns out is only a 30-minute train ride away from home. I was curious and was wondering what that place might be like and whether it might be an interesting place to shoot. And of course, there's only one way to find out.
Take your time, fall in line someday.
So earlier this week, I took the train to that little town to explore and photograph the place, and in this video, I'm taking you with me to show you what it was like to photograph the smallest town of Austria.
Take a stand, move your hand someday.
So what is the smallest town of Austria? Well, have a look. So this is Tirol, and the capital city of Tirol is Innsbruck. Then if we move to the east, we pass smaller yet pretty relevant cities such as Hall in Tirol, Wattens, Schwaz and Jenbach. But then just past Jenbach, there's a group of little towns, one of which has this shape, and that is our target. It's called Rattenberg. I'm just kidding, of course, I'm sure everyone who speaks German just got triggered. It's Rattenberg, of course. So that is Austria's smallest city. Or is it? The answer to what is Austria's smallest city turns out to be actually a little more complicated than I first thought. I noticed this when I first came across the city and then searched for the smallest city in Austria and got a different answer than what I read before. That is because of definitions, I guess. Because what exactly counts as a city? Generally speaking, a city, to me and probably to you as well, is simply an urban settlement, a place where a rather large group of people live in proximity to each other, building a sort of communal system with all the city's necessities, such as a supermarket, a school or a bank, all available without needing to travel to a different city. But in the English language, we have multiple words for something like that, namely city, town or village. Again, generally speaking, I think we can agree that those words mainly differ in scale. A city is bigger than a town, and a town is bigger than a village. Well, in Austria it's a little different. We basically reduce that to 2 words, so Stadt means city or town, and Dorf means village. Dorf. Jo, Rattenberg, this is so kleines Dorf. Is it Dorf? So far so good, that's not all too confusing. But what truly makes this question a difficult one to answer is how do different countries define what a town/city/Stadt is and what differentiates it from a village/Dorf. Depending on the country, the status of city or town is found by measuring the population or the land area. I think those are the 2 main parameters. And so when I searched the internet for what is the smallest city in Austria, it told me Hardegg, which is a small city much further north in Austria. But then a different source confirmed that it's Rattenberg. So what's going on here? Well, turns out it comes down to definitions again. So as far as I have understood it, in Austria we have cities, which we call Städte, and something else that we call Stadtgemeinden. Hardegg is the smallest Stadtgemeinde and Rattenberg is the smallest Stadt. The difference is that the Stadtgemeinde is a politically relevant division of land area, whereas a Stadt is simply a historical status that has been given to a city. Back a couple years, in 1393, when dukes were still a thing in Austria, some duke called Stefan III gave Rattenberg the official right and status of city. And so, because Hardegg wasn't as lucky to also have a duke that elevated their status to city, they don't really count as a proper city, and that makes Rattenberg the official smallest city of Austria. Anyway, that's enough history, or whatever that was. This is a photography channel, so let's return to the year 2024, to the evening before the day I travelled to Rattenberg and was packing my bag. I've been shooting a lot of film lately, so this day I decided to slightly slow down my film shooting and shoot digitally for a change. And for somewhat casually exploring an urban area, you probably know what I packed. Of course, my old yet trusty Lumix GX80 with the small 20mm f1.7 lens. Other than that, just a couple things to make the video, but for photography I kept it minimal. And so with the bag packed, I went to bed to get a good night's sleep, to then head out the next morning to catch a train to Rattenberg.
Do you wanna see what I see? Just
So I arrived in Rattenberg. Just around the corner from the train station, I came to this arch with the town sign. I thought it was really cute how the arch seemed like the entrance to the town. I'm not used to seeing towns that have an entry point, but this one apparently has one. Right next to the arch is the foot of the mountain that rises above Rattenberg, and on the slope there was a house which looked really cool. It had that sort of medieval looking style, and so that was my first subject. This is one of the first shots of this house. I just really like the combination of stone walls and wood. Also, the big stone wall that goes up the mountain looks pretty cool and adds a lot of character to the scene, I find. It's things like that stone wall that already add a lot of context to the city and characterize the place I'm photographing here, so it was important to me to keep it in the composition. Here are a couple more shots from this starting point. Overall, this is not a bad start, I must say. The lighting, though, was really tough to work with because it's so flat and doesn't really have any direction, which can take away a sense of depth in the photo.
Summer is ended, the leaves are turning brown. Red and yellow, soon they'll be falling down.
I like this shot. This is right next to the town's church. I thought the view from the church's ground to the colourful houses on the other side was cool, therefore I got this shot, plus here are a couple variations.
Not just yet, I'm not ready for autumn.
Additionally, before going to the church, I had shot this photo, which is super basic, but I did want to shoot a simple photo of the houses to capture the architecture. However, I'm not sure if I should have tried something a bit more interesting. I don't know, the photo seems a bit boring.
The light that flickers will blow out with the side.
Then here, I was really fond of those wooden bridges that connected the houses. I mean, how cool is that? I find that quite fascinating, and so I shot a couple of variations, some wider and some closer to this subject. I think most small towns have some place, usually in the centre, that is like a central gathering spot. A town square, I suppose, is what that is called, and I think to have found Rattenberg's town square here, featuring the statue positioned above what might have been the well. I shot a simple wide-angle view of this space here, and I find the simplicity quite effective. Maybe it works better than the photo of the walls, thanks to the many details within this scene that make it more interesting than just a couple doors on a wall. Also, typical for the town square, the town suddenly felt alive here, whereas the first streets were extremely quiet. I like this more street photography-esque shot I was able to get here, that pictures some action going on and features quite a few people, which really helps to give the photo some life. Here's another shot from the square, which I'm quite fond of. I like how the statue and the orange-coloured building of the bank frame the subject with their dog. By the way, I think this is also quite normal in Austrian towns, that the town square is also where you can find a bank. Lastly, here's a photo of a little tunnel that takes you from the town square through to a little street that I was about to explore. Here, I just captured more details or little corners of this place that I found interesting. Next, I returned to the town square, which basically merges into a long shopping road with some cafes and all sorts of other shops. This road is basically the bulk of this town. I guess that's not a surprise considering this is the smallest town of Austria. I continued to shoot anything I found interesting and also kept in mind to photograph anything that I thought could characterize the town. Here's another street photo with a person as a clear subject. I saw them taking a seat on the well here just to chill and do something on their phone, I think. It shows something quite interesting actually. I noticed when walking through the town that there were so many kids around, ages from around 6 to 14 maybe. It seems that there must be a school nearby, and maybe Rattenberg is the city that the village kids commute to. I was here on a Monday at around noon, and so I think I saw so many kids here because they were all on their lunch break looking for a snack. Anyway, I quite like this shot. Then, before we continue, I want to thank the beloved continued sponsor of the channel, Squarespace. Squarespace is a wonderful all-in-one website platform that I've been using for my website for nearly 4 years now. That is where I present the different projects I've worked on or am currently working on, ranging from short films to photography projects. So here you can look through my work with a little thumbnail and then click see more if you want to see the details, where I've either placed the finished work or it says something like in post-production. What I personally love about Squarespace is their interface, which is really simple and easy to understand, so that someone like me who wants to present their work online and doesn't need a super complex website can easily build it myself. You can start off with one of the many templates and then customize those to fit your own needs and taste. Head to squarespace.com for a 14-day free trial, and then when you're ready to launch your website, you can go to squarespace.com/TeoCrawford to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for continuously supporting me in my work here. I really appreciate it. It didn't take long to reach the end of the road, which also happened to be the end of the city, and so I returned to the town square to look for an open cafe where I could warm myself up a little. This was actually a bit of an unfortunate surprise to me. I chose this Monday because the weather forecast had predicted not freezing cold temperatures and sunshine, which usually is a very pleasant combination. However, I hadn't realised that Rattenberg in winter is a town in the shade of its mountain. The sun is constantly so low that the town just stays in the shade, and hence it was pretty cold, and so I needed to warm up. The waiter explained to me that the sun usually begins to appear more regularly from April. This was also, photographically speaking, a pity actually, because I was really hoping for some sunny romantic shots of this town, but instead I was trying to deal with the ultra flat lighting of the shade. After that, there was basically one more corner to explore. If you look here, I came from here and then checked out the town square and the main road, and so all that is really left is this side here.
Beneath the shadows of this quiet town, I see you there, your feathers on the ground. Your eyes are heavy with the weight.
Here, I found another arch that appeared to actually be the entrance to the town, because this arch was bigger, had the town's emblem and some text on it, and it leads directly to the town square, so of course I had to get a shot of this one.
You can take a chance and try once more.
Then here are a couple more shots I got before coming to the arch. I really liked the look of this building.
Down, down, down. You can still take flight, although you're earthbound.
At last, I explored this area that is outside of the arch's border, but I still consider this part of the town, seeing as this is right at the train station. I thought the houses here looked pretty cool, and so I wanted to get some more shots.
With nowhere to go, no higher ground.
This shot I think turned out pretty cool. I like how there's more going on than in the other photos I've been shooting here. We have a cool setting, this town, with an old castle tower in the background and the mountains forest on the left. In the middle is someone packing their car. Two details that I think level up this photo are the train on the right, which adds more context, and the smoke or steam, not sure which it is, at the back, which just adds some extra atmosphere to the photo.
Take flight, although you're earthbound.
by this point I had kind of finished my shoot already, but was just wandering around close to the train station because I still had about 20 minutes to wait to catch my train back to Innsbruck. This shot turned out not too bad, I think. I like how it shows the mountain of this town, which is a key feature of Rattenberg, not simply because it's a mountain, but also in its effects such as the lack of sunlight in winter that I told you about. And so with the previous photos of houses and this one too, I was trying to frame the houses with the mountain to bring that point across.
Don't let your worries weigh you down, down. You can still take.
I also enjoy this photo. What I'm trying to show here is a bit more subtle in this particular one, but basically what I think is also a feature of this town is the train that passes by so close that I can stand here and look over the tracks directly to the town's church. Anyway, a couple more minutes of wandering around and then my train came that took me back to Innsbruck. So that was Rattenberg, Austria's smallest official town. I really enjoyed the experience. It wasn't quite what I was hoping for without any sunshine, but I still got a good grasp of the town's character and also a collection of photographs. The photography, I must say, was only alright. I didn't finish the day thinking I shot many really good ones, but at least I was able to shoot a few that I think are pretty decent, and that I think is what counts. Anyway, that's it for this week. I really hope you enjoyed joining me on this little exploration in Austria. Before saying goodbye, I would like to thank the lovely people supporting me on Patreon. Thank you to each and every one of you. If you're interested in Lightroom presets, tutorials or postcards, you can check out my page via the link in the description. Also, I have a print shop by the way, in case that interests you, also link in the description. With that said, I hope to see you again soon. Until then, goodbye.